A United States F-35 just sent a deadly message after a drone threatened a supercarrier. It is 4:17 p.m. in the Arabian Sea. Radar screens on the USS Abraham Lincoln are screaming. A shadow moves across the display. It is an Iranian drone heading straight for 100,000 tons of American steel. The distance closes fast. This is not a drift. It is an attack vector. The drone maneuvers aggressively. Iran wanted to send a message. They thought they could poke the bear to prove United States carriers are not untouchable. But they made a critical mistake. The United States did not back down. They responded to a jab with a haymaker. Alarms sound on the flight deck. Steam rises. This is not a drill. A United States Navy F-35C, the most advanced stealth fighter on the planet, roars down the runway. It is going up to kill. This was a test. Iran pushed the line. The United States just erased it. The Iranian operators watching their screens had no idea they were the prey. If you want to see how the United States Navy handles a threat, hit subscribe. Let's get to the intercept. To understand why a $100 million stealth jet was hunting a cheap drone, we have to look at the map. This did not start in the Arabian Sea. It started weeks ago on the streets of Iran. In mid-January, protests exploded across that country. The regime was cracking down hard on its own people. The United States sent a clear warning: do not silence your citizens. Iran ignored it. They clamped down even harder. So, the United States Navy made a massive move. On January 15, the USS Abraham Lincoln stopped its live-fire exercises in the South China Sea. It turned its bow west. It sailed through the straits, flanked by destroyers and cruisers, heading straight for the Middle East. This was not just a ship moving point to point. This was a floating airbase parking itself in the backyard of Iran. By the time the Lincoln hit the Arabian Sea, tensions were boiling. Iran was watching every mile of that transit. They saw the carrier as a direct threat to their control. For the sailors on board, this is the red zone. You are not just sailing, you are waiting for the alarm. Every blip on the radar could be a missile, a boat bomb, or a drone. The Arabian Sea is wide, but when you are a target this big, it feels very small. Iran decided they needed to mark the carrier. They wanted to show they could get close. It is a classic intimidation tactic. If they can fly a drone over the deck, they can hit it with a missile. It is a psychological game to test American resolve. But the Abraham Lincoln does not play games. When that carrier arrived, it brought the full weight of American air power with it. The crew was on high alert. They knew Iran would try something. They were just waiting for the moment. That moment came at 4 p.m. Iran did not just watch, they acted. And that decision turned a diplomatic standoff into a kinetic engagement. The United States Navy was ready to answer that call with force. The timeline of the intercept was brutal and fast. It starts in the Combat Information Center of the USS Abraham Lincoln. The room is kept dark, lit only by the blue and orange glow of radar screens. The air is cold and smells of ozone and coffee. A young radar specialist sees a contact appear on the scope. It is small and moving slow, but it is not following any civilian flight path. The identification code flashes red. Unmanned aerial vehicle. Origin Iran. The distance is 500 miles off the Iranian coast. This is deep in international waters. This is not coastal defense. This is an expeditionary threat. The drone is identified as a Shahed model. Reports suggest it was likely a Shahed 139 or the older Shahed 129. These are not toys you buy at a store. The Shahed 129 has a wingspan of 52 feet. It is as big as a small plane. It can carry 4 precision-guided bombs. It has a range of over 1,000 miles. This was not a camera drone. It was a potential killer. The United States Navy issued standard warnings immediately. Radio calls went out on emergency frequencies. Unidentified aircraft. You are approaching a United States naval vessel. Turn away immediately. There was only static on the line. The drone kept coming. On the flight deck, the call is made. They are not going to wait for it to get within striking distance. Launch the alert jet. An F-35C Lightning II sits on the catapult. This is the carrier version of the Joint Strike Fighter. It has bigger wings and stronger landing gear than the Air Force version. It is built for this exact moment. The pilot runs the final checklist. Systems green, weapons live. His hand grips the throttle. The steam catapult fires, 0 to 160 miles per hour in 2 seconds. The pilot is pressed back into the seat with 4 Gs of force hitting his chest. The jet screams off the bow and banks hard into the sky. For the pilot, the mission is simple. Protect the ship at all costs. There is no room for error. If that drone carries a warhead, it could kill sailors on the deck below. The F-35C pushes the throttle. It can hit Mach 1.6, which is over 1,200 miles per hour. The Shahed drone cruises at maybe 100 miles per hour. The speed difference is massive. The pilot sees the target on his helmet-mounted display long before he sees it with his eyes. The advanced sensors paint a digital box around the enemy. The drone is just a speck in the sky buzzing along like a lawnmower. The jet closes the distance in seconds. The pilot forms up alongside the intruder. He is checking the threat. Is it armed? Is it maneuvering to attack? The report comes back clear. The drone is driving aggressively toward the carrier. It is not turning away. The decision loop closes. The warnings were ignored. The intent is hostile. It is time to end this. While the F-35 was locking onto the drone in the sky, another crisis was exploding on the surface. Iran was not just looking up. They were looking at the most dangerous choke point on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. This is a narrow strip of water, but it is the lifeline of the world. 20% of all the oil on the planet passes through here every single day. If you control Hormuz, you can strangle the global economy. On that same afternoon, a pack of small, fast boats sped out from the Iranian coast. These were not Navy ships. They were manned by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Their target was not a warship this time. It was a tanker called the Stena Imperative. This was not just a random commercial ship. It was part of a United States military fuel program. The Iranian boats swarmed like hornets. They were fast, armed with .50 caliber machine guns and carrying cameras to film their aggression. They hailed the tanker over the radio. They threatened to board. They claimed the ship did not have the right paperwork. It was a coordinated harassment campaign designed to panic the crew. On the bridge of the tanker, the captain watched the gunboats cut across his bow. Tension spiked. If the Iranians board, the ship is seized. The crew becomes hostages. But the United States Navy watches the strait like a hawk. A United States Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer was patrolling nearby. These ships are the bodyguards of the fleet. They are packed with missiles, guns, and the most advanced tracking systems on Earth. It has a radar that can track a baseball from miles away. The destroyer did not hesitate. It turned and burned toward the Stena Imperative. The message to the Iranian boats was clear: step away, or you will meet the 5-inch deck gun. The Iranian boats are fast, but they are made of fiberglass and aluminum. The destroyer is made of armored steel. The Iranian sailors saw the gray hull of the destroyer looming over the horizon. The math changed instantly. Harassing a tanker is easy. Fighting a United States destroyer is suicide. They broke off their attack. They turned back to the coast. But the timing was no accident. A drone in the air, boats in the water, both happening on the same day, both targeting United States assets. This was a stress test. Iran was trying to overload the United States command system. They wanted to see if the Americans could handle 2 threats at once. The answer was a resounding yes. The destroyer handled the water. The carrier handled the air. But back in the sky, the F-35 pilot was about to make a move that surprised everyone. He was not just going to shoot it down, he was going to make a point about costs. Here is where the story takes a sharp turn that most people did not see coming. In modern air combat, everyone expects missiles. You lock on from miles away, press a button, and a rocket does the work. The F-35C had plenty of missiles on board. It likely carried AIM 9X Sidewinders. These are heat-seeking missiles that can turn 90 degrees in the air. They cost about $400,000 to $900,000 each. It also could have carried the AIM 120 AMRAAM. That is a radar-guided killer that costs over $1 million per unit. The Iranian Shahed drone costs a fraction of that, maybe $20,000 to $50,000 tops. If the United States fires a $1 million missile at a cheap disposable drone, Iran wins the economic war. They want the United States to waste expensive ammunition on cheap targets. But the pilot and the commanders on the Abraham Lincoln knew this game. They were not going to play by Iranian rules. The pilot did not select a missile. He flipped the weapon selector switch to GUN. The F-35C carries a 25mm cannon. It is a 4-barreled Gatling gun hidden inside the wing or a pod. It fires explosive rounds at a rate that tears metal apart. It is old school. It is brutal. And compared to a missile, bullets are pennies on the dollar. This choice changed the narrative completely. It was not a sterile, long-range kill. This was a close-range execution. It showed total dominance. The pilot had to get close, right on the tail of the drone, to use the gun. Meanwhile, Iran tried to spin the story to the world. Their state media, Tasnim News, claimed the drone was just on a routine and legal mission. They said it was just taking pictures and doing surveillance. Routine? Legal? The drone was 500 miles from Iran. International law gives you 12 miles of territorial water. Maybe 200 miles for economic zones. But 500 miles? That is open ocean. You do not send a war drone 500 miles out to aggressively maneuver around a United States warship for a photo opportunity. The United States Navy knew it was a lie. The pilot knew it was a lie. And as the digital crosshairs settled on the slow-moving drone, the so-called routine mission was about to end in a ball of fire. The F-35C settled in behind the Shahed drone. The difference in raw power was almost comical. It was like a Formula One car drafting behind a child on a bicycle. The pilot had to manage his speed carefully to stay behind the slow propeller-driven target without stalling. On his helmet visor, the advanced heads-up display projected the aiming reticle directly over the small engine block of the drone. The target drifted slightly in the wind currents above the ocean. The pilot adjusted the control stick with surgical precision. Millimeters of movement on the controls translated to perfect alignment in the air. The radio crackled with the final order. Cleared hot, the pilot squeezed the trigger. The 25mm cannon roared to life. It is a sound that vibrates through the entire airframe. The gun fires 3,000 rounds per minute. A half-second burst sends dozens of high-explosive incendiary rounds tearing through the air faster than the speed of sound. The rounds slammed into the Shahed with devastating force. There was no chance for survival. The drone did not just break, it was shredded. The wing sheared off instantly. The engine block disintegrated into metal confetti. A bright orange fireball bloomed in the blue Arabian Sea sky. The drone tumbled. It fell from the sky like a broken toy, trailing black smoke, and smashed into the water below. "Splash one," the pilot radioed. The tone was calm and professional. It was just another day at the office for a United States naval aviator. On the USS Abraham Lincoln, the radar operator watched the red dot disappear from the screen. The threat was gone. Captain Tim Hawkins, the spokesperson for United States Central Command, later confirmed the kill to the press. An F-35C fighter jet from the Abraham Lincoln shot down the Iranian drone in self-defense, he said. He emphasized the distance to prove a point. Approximately 500 miles from the southern coast of Iran. The message was physical. The drone was underwater. But the message was also psychological. The F-35C did not even break a sweat. It proved that the United States Navy can swat Iranian hardware out of the sky with ease. This was not just about destroying a machine. It was about establishing dominance. The F-35 is a stealth fighter designed to penetrate the most advanced air defenses in the world. Using it to shoot down a slow propeller drone is overkill. And that was exactly the point. It was a show of force. We can see you. We can hit you. And you cannot stop us. The debris of the Shahed sank to the bottom of the ocean. The F-35C banked away, burners lit, and headed back to the carrier. The deck crew prepared for recovery. Mission accomplished. No United States equipment was damaged, no sailors were harmed. It was a total victory. The sun set on February 3 with 2 clear winds for the United States Navy. The drone was underwater. The fast boats had fled. But the ripple effects are just starting. The White House confirmed the incidents but did not declare war. Instead, the focus shifted to diplomacy. President Trump's special envoy is still scheduled to meet with Iranian delegates on February 7. The United States is saying we can fight if we have to, but we prefer to talk. This is a dangerous game of poker. Iran tried to build leverage. They wanted to show they could disrupt the oil flow, but the plan backfired. Their drone was swatted down. Their boats were scared off. The strategic reality is harsh for Tehran. This incident proved that cheap drones are not a game changer when the United States is alert. However, experts warned this was just a probe. What happens if Iran sends 50 drones next time? That is the real threat. A swarm attack could overwhelm even a ship like the Abraham Lincoln. The meeting on February 7 is now critical. If talks fail, the gloves might come off. Iran's supreme leader warned that a war would engulf the region. But the F-35 pilot proved the United States is not bluffing. For now, the Abraham Lincoln continues its patrol. The ocean is quiet again, but everyone knows this was just the opening round. If you want to stay ahead of the next move in the Middle East, make sure you are subscribed. See you in the next one.